Making headlines. The president instructs BML to increase transaction limit on debit cards to $2,000 for locals performing Hajj pilgrimage. The government of India sanctions the State Bank of India or SBI to roll over a treasury bill issued by the Maldivian government worth $50 million for another year. And the Maldives 2.0 Digital Transformation Summit concludes, marking a significant step in the government's ambitious effort to modernize public services. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to PSM News in English with me, Abdullah Ahil. And now the news in detail. President Dr. Mohamed Muiz has instructed the country's national bank, Bank of Maldives or BML, to increase the foreign transaction limit on debit cards issued by the bank to $2,000 for locals performing the Hajj pilgrimage this year. President Dr. Muiz announced this initiative through a social media post, highlighting that the enhanced transaction limit will significantly benefit Hajj pilgrims undertaking their pilgrimage this year. President Dr. Muiz revealed that he had petitioned the BML to raise the foreign transaction limit on debit cards for Hajj pilgrims to $1,750. This increase is an addition to the existing limit available to BML customers, according to the president. At present, BML provides a foreign transaction limit of $250 on debit cards. Under Dr. Muiz's directive, the limit for this year's Hajj pilgrims will rise to $2,000. The increased transaction limit will be available at the official exchange rate of 15.42 Maldivian rupiah. President Dr. Muiz earlier this year had facilitated the increase of foreign transaction limit on debit cards to $1,500 for Umrah pilgrims during the holy month of Ramadan in March. This decision follows the enactment of the Foreign Currency Act or Forex Act earlier this year. The newly implemented legislation mandates that companies generating foreign revenue, including those in the tourism sector, exchange a portion of their earnings through local banks, ensuring improved regulation and control. The initiative to increase the foreign transaction limit for Hajj and Umrah pilgrims aligns with President Dr. Muiz's announcement of plans to double the amount of US dollars available to Maldivians traveling abroad from Vilhena International Airport or VIA during the first quarter of 2026. Currently, BML provides $500 per local passengers departing from VIA. The administration aims to increase this amount to $1,000 by early 2026 and subsequently raise credit card limits to $1,400 by the second quarter of the same year, according to Dr. Muiz. President Dr. Mohamed Muiz pays tribute to the nation's nurses, commending their dedication and invaluable service on the occasion of International Nurses Day. In a statement shared on social media, the president lauded their unwavering commitment to patient care, describing their work as a source of national pride. The annual observance on the 12th of May honors nurses worldwide, recognizing their contributions and sacrifices in the field of healthcare. President Muiz underscored their indispensable role, noting that nurses stand at the forefront of patient care from admission to recovery, demonstrating steadfast professionalism and compassion. This year's theme, designated by the International Council of Nurses, is Our Nurses, Our Future. Caring for nurses strengthens economies. It highlights the demanding nature of nursing and the necessity of fostering supportive conditions for healthcare professionals, acknowledging their role in shaping a resilient healthcare system and a strong economy. Their presence in hospitals and clinics is more than a profession. It is a lifeline for patients in times of illness. The government, recognizing this essential contribution, continues to implement initiatives aimed at increasing the proportion of Maldivian nurses within the healthcare sector, reinforcing its commitment to strengthening the nation's medical workforce. President Dr. Mohamed Muiz vows to elevate the recognition and welfare of nurses to an unprecedented level, reaffirming his administration's commitment to addressing their concerns and improving their working conditions. His remarks, delivered in a statement marking International Nurses Day, underscored the government's intention to prioritize the needs of healthcare professionals and implement substantive reforms. The annual observance on May 12th honors the dedication and sacrifices of nurses worldwide. In his statement, President Muiz stressed the importance of listening to nurses and responding to their concerns, pledging to advance initiatives that strengthen their professional and personal well-being. Offering congratulations and commendations, the President praised the unwavering dedication of nurses, recognizing the immense responsibility they bear in serving humanity. He characterized nursing as a noble profession, one whose spiritual rewards, goodwill, and kindness is far surpass financial remuneration. The sentiment carried into his social media post, where he reflected on the critical role nurses play in patient care. He stated that nurses remain at the forefront from the moment individuals seek treatment to their recovery and discharge. Their compassion and commitment, he noted, are a source of national pride. Closing his message, the President expressed his aspirations for the continued progress and success of Maldivian nurses. His administration, he affirmed, remains dedicated to ensuring their contributions are recognized and supported. Parliament approves Aishat Asna Hamdi as the new Deputy Governor of the Central Bank, Maldives Monetary Authority, or MMA. President Dr. Mohamed Muiz had nominated Asna and forwarded her nomination for Parliament approval following the resignation of her predecessor, Ahmad Imad, in March. His resignation came just before a motion to recommend his dismissal was tabled to be heard in Parliament. Imad had been accused of being at fault for not reporting former Governor Ali Hashim when he had failed to execute his legally mandated responsibilities. The Parliamentary Finance Committee had interviewed Asna before moving to recommend her approval for the post last week. The Parliament, as recommended by its Finance Committee, approved Asna's appointment with 73 lawmakers unanimously voting in favor during Monday's sitting. The Government of India sanctions the State Bank of India, or SBI, to roll over a treasury bill issued by the Maldives government worth $50 million for another year as much-needed financial support to the island nation. The High Commission of India to the Maldives, in a statement, said on the request of the Maldives government, SBI has subscribed for one more year the treasury bill worth $50 million.
According to this statement, the Indian government has been facilitating the subscription of several of such treasury bills by the SBI and rolling them over annually, interest-free to the Maldivian government. The High Commission said that this was done under a unique government-to-government arrangement as emergency financial support to the Maldives. Minister of Foreign Affairs Dr. Abdullah Halil, in a post on X, thanked his Indian counterpart, Dr. S. Jaishankar, and the Indian government for the continued assistance. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs, through a statement, said India has granted a one-year extension to the $50 million treasury bill, which matured on 12th May through the SBI. Since March 2019, the Government of India has extended several such treasury bills through SBI without interest. In addition to rollovers of the T-bills, the Indian government has also arranged a currency swap facility to improve Maldives' state reserves. The Indian government in September last year had facilitated the rollover of another $50 million T-bill, which will now mature in September 2025.
The Maldives 2.0 Digital Transformation Summit concludes, marking a significant step in the government's ambitious effort to modernize public services and administration through technology. Over 3 days, policymakers, industry leaders, and international experts convened at Barcelona Sundra to discuss the nation's digital future and outline a strategy for transformative change. At the heart of the summit was the formal presentation of the National Digital Declaration to President Dr. Mohamed Muiz, who attended the closing ceremony as the guest of honor. The document, compiled from discussions among key stakeholders, sets forth the government's commitment to advancing digital infrastructure and governance. The Minister of Homeland Security and Technology, Ali Ihsan, presented the ceremonial conferral to President Muiz in the presence of senior officials, including Vice President Hossein Mohammad Latif, Speaker of Parliament Abdul Rahim Abdullah, and Chief Justice Ahmad Muttasim Adnan. Cabinet ministers, senior government officials, and dignitaries, including representatives from the Estonian government, were also in attendance. The Maldives 2.0 initiative is a cornerstone of the President's strategic vision designed to drive sweeping digital reforms across all sectors and institutions. Launched under the President's special initiative, the project seeks to unify state institutions in the pursuit of fast, secure, and transparent services, ushering the Maldives into a new digital era. With a 3-year timeline, the government aims to implement smart digital reforms and innovations that will streamline public services and transform institutional administration. The overarching goal is to establish a digitally connected future, integrating accessible technology across the islands while elevating service standards. Throughout the summit, discussions centered on several critical policy areas. Strengthening cybersecurity emerged as a key priority, with an emphasis on safeguarding national digital infrastructure. Participants examined ways to facilitate secure digital transactions through internationally standardized digital IDs, ensuring seamless and protected exchanges. Another major focus was the development of a data exchange layer to enable timely and secure sharing of personal information between state institutions, improving efficiency and accessibility. Maldives is marking significant progress in reducing carbon emissions, says Minister of Tourism and Environment Tariq Ibrahim, highlighting key renewable energy investments and support from China in tackling climate change.
Minister of Tourism and Environment Tariq Ibrahim has said that Maldives is making great strides towards the successful implementation of measures to curb carbon emissions. Speaking during the International Zero Carbon Islands and Green Low Carbon Development Conference on Monday, Minister Tariq alluded to measures being taken to adapt to climate change and reduce carbon emissions. The minister also said that the government is aiming to reduce carbon emissions to 1.52 million tons this year. The effort to enhance the use of renewable energy sources are paving the way to achieving the target of reducing carbon emissions, he added. Minister Tariq further said solar energy systems are being installed in different parts of the country. He said the government will invest even more into this. He added that they are working on identifying more measures that can be taken to reduce toxic emissions. The Low Carbon Development Conference is a joint collaborative between China and Maldives to increase the use of renewable energy and reduce emissions. China has provided training opportunities to Maldives in this field while making special efforts to help the island nation reduce carbon emissions. China has also provided opportunities to study in renewable energy-related fields with tuition, accommodation, and travel expenses covered by the Chinese government. The government has launched several initiatives for renewable energy and sustainable waste management in a bid to preserve Maldives' fragile environment and ecosystem. The administration of President Dr. Mohammad Muiz had announced bold yet long overdue plans to address the issues, launching several key initiatives last year. In the beginning of 2024, the total installed capacity of renewable energy was 53 megawatts, which amounted to just 4% of energy consumption in the island nation. However, this administration has aimed to turn that figure to 33% over the course of the next 5 years. Under these plans, the government has managed to add 15 megawatts of renewable energy, taking the total up to 70% in just 1 year.
The United States and China says they have agreed to a deal to slash reciprocal tariffs for now as the world's two biggest economies seek to end a trade war that has disrupted the global outlook and set financial markets on edge. Speaking after talks with Chinese officials in Geneva, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent told reporters that two sides had agreed on a 90-day pause on measures and that tariffs would come down by over 100 percentage points to 10%. Bessent was speaking alongside U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer after the weekend talks in which both sides had hailed progress on narrowing differences. The Geneva meetings were the first face-to-face interactions between senior U.S. and Chinese economic officials since U.S. President Donald Trump returned to power and launched a global tariff blitz, imposing particularly hefty duties on China. Since taking office in January, Trump has hiked the tariffs paid by U.S. importers for goods from China to 145%, in addition to those he imposed on many Chinese goods during his first term and the duties levied by the Biden administration. China hit back by putting export curbs on some rare earth elements vital for U.S. manufacturers for weapons and electronic consumer goods, and raising tariffs on U.S. goods to 125%. The tariff dispute brought nearly $600 billion in two-way trade to a standstill, disrupting supply chains, sparking fears of stagflation and triggering some layoffs. Palestinians in Gaza's Khan Yunis comments regarding U.S. President Donald Trump's visit to the Gulf region, asking him for a permanent ceasefire, entry of aid, and the reconstruction of Gaza. According to a spokesman for Hamas's armed wing, they will release on Monday Israeli-American Eden Alexander, believed to be the last surviving U.S. hostage held by the Palestinian militant group in Gaza. Trump's administration had said that releasing Alexander was a top priority. Alexander, 21, was born and raised in New Jersey and was serving in the Israeli army when he was captured by Hamas during its attack on Israel in October 2023. Trump is expected to visit Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE starting on May 13th. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer announces a new salvo of measures to toughen up Britain's migration system, saying many immigrants would have to wait longer before getting the status they need to claim welfare. During a news conference in London, Starmer said every area of the immigration system will be tightened up to have more control. Starmer's government is under pressure to counter the rise in popularity of Nigel Farage's right-wing anti-immigration Reform UK party. Under the changes, automatic settlement and citizenship for people who move to Britain will apply after 10 years, up from 5 years now, although highly skilled workers such as nurses, doctors, engineers, and AI experts would be fast-tracked. The government also said it plans to raise English language requirements to include all adult dependents who will have to show a basic understanding of English. It said the change would help integration and reduce the risks of exploitation. Net migration, the number of people coming to Britain minus the number leaving, hit a record 906,000 in the year to June 2023, up from 184,000 who arrived in the same period during 2019 when Britain was still in the EU. Employers groups are worried that tightening the rules on foreign workers will make it harder for companies to fill vacancies. Johann Zarco becomes the first Frenchman in 71 years to win the French Grand Prix after the LCR Honda rider's decision to start the wet tires paid off handsomely in front of a sellout crowd of more than 120,000 fans at Le Mans. In a chaotic race where riders swapped bikes multiple times due to rain, Zarco won by a huge margin of nearly 20 seconds ahead of Ducati's Marc Marquez, while Gresini Racing's Fermin Aldeguer came third for his first MotoGP podium. Zarco was 17th on lap 1 when he narrowly avoided a collision and lost places as he went off track. But as confusion and chaos reigned in the rain, the Frenchman slowly made his way through the grid before taking the lead and never looking back. Zarco is the first Frenchman to win at the iconic circuit since Pierre Moneret in 1954, and the 34-year-old celebrated by performing a backflip off the barrier in front of the grandstand as the fans chanted his name. The local fans had come hoping to see another Frenchman, pole sitter and 2021 world champion Fabio Quartararo, potentially win from pole position, but it was the veteran Honda driver who gave them a reason to celebrate. His victory also ended Ducati's winning streak in MotoGP at 22 races as Honda took a rare win. The race was initially red flagged when every rider entered the pits after the warm-up lap to swap bikes, with all of them on dry tires moving cautiously around the wet track after Quartararo nearly slipped and fell in greasy conditions. But after swapping bikes, several riders came back in on the sighting lap to switch machines again as the rain abated, risking the double long lap penalty rather than race on wet tires on a drying track. Saturday's sprint winner Marquez took the lead before Quartararo regained first place and shot ahead to extend the gap while the Spaniard josted for second with his brother Alex. Behind them, Francesco Bagnaia crashed at turn 3 along with Joan Mir, who retired from the race. Any hopes of Quartararo winning the race evaporated when he crashed at the final corner on lap 4 as groans echoed around the grandstand, leaving the Marquez brothers to battle it out for the lead. But both Mark and Alex went into the pits yet again to swap bikes for wet tires, leaving Zarco, who started on wet tires, with a commanding lead. In the Moto2 race, Manuel Gonzalez was once again crowned the winner for the 5th time in 6 races. Gonzalez lost the lead at the first corner, but by lap 5 was back in front and held on to the end. The Liqui Moly-Denevalt rider now has a 16-point lead at the top of the rider standings. And the drama continued into the Moto3 race, where race leaders Joel Kelso and David Munoz collided on the last corner of the race to give Red Bull KTM Ajo rider Jose Antonio Rueda a free track to the finish line. Seeking solace in a turbulent world, Jenny Brennan and Jacob Peter have found an unlikely source of well-being, quietly rescuing and rehabilitating London's pigeons. Pigeons in urban areas often suffer from a preventable condition known as stringfoot, in which litter such as thread, fishing line, or human hair becomes entangled around their toes. Untreated, the birds can lose a toe or even a whole foot. Brennan first began feeding pigeons during the COVID-19 lockdown after reading they were going hungry. Over time, she began noticing injuries and sought help on Facebook from Peter, who was already rescuing birds. Since then, the two have worked together and attempted to tend to the birds 3 to 4 times a week, often responding to tips from concerned members of the public. That's all the news we have for today. We'll be back with any further updates. Until then, I'm Abdullah Ahil from PSM News.